goal of the Cariboo Waggon Road restoration project is to connect all pieces of the original Cariboo Waggon Road together into one route for cyclists, hikers, and motorists, from Yale and Lillooet to its terminus at Barkerville.
Our starting point today is at Mount Begbie parking lot, just north of our previous day's terminus at 83 Mile. From here, we ride north to the 100 Mile House area, this time mostly on old pavement rather than country roads and the original roadbed. Research and mapping shows us where the original Cariboo Waggon Road was located. The yellow line is the original Cariboo Waggon Road as surveyed in 1914. The green line is the location of the route in 1947, while the white line is current Highway 97. Ground truthing by walking or cycling as we're doing gives us two perspectives. First, we find out where our route needs to be rerouted or cleared. And second, it brings the land into focus, showing features easily missed when traveling at speed on a modern highway. A good example is 83 Mile Mountain, as it was known, where teams had to pull up a grade from 83 Mile Creek over the shoulder of Mount Begbie, not to be confused with the Mount Begbie near Revelstoke. The grade is hardly noticeable in a vehicle today, but by pedal or boot, grades or rough ground are clearly noticeable. The original road, the 1947 roadbed, and modern Highway 97 are a braided route north. For most of this section, we'll ride the 1947 route. The original roadbed, unfortunately, is buried or cut off. Our goal is to avoid Highway 97 traffic and crossings as much as possible. While in some cases old sections of road can be used, there are spots where new trails will be needed. One example is just north of 83 Mile. There's a good intersection here at 83 Mile, but northbound we would then have to travel the highway. The best route seems to be east of the highway, up Begbie Road, then a short trail to Lookout Road and on to Mount Begbie. Near Mount Begbie, an original section of the Cariboo Road is found, identified by its surveyed location, 12-foot width, with ditches and berms on either side. Perhaps at some point it will be possible to excavate a cross-section, such as was done in England with a Roman road, to study the construction techniques used by the Royal Engineers and contractors in the 1860s. Highway 97, north of Begbie Summit parking lot, we find a common situation. The modern four-lane has cut off old road beds, and as we have found south of this point, a bypass trail is needed to get cyclists and trekkers off the heavily traveled four-lane Highway 97.
Somebody's gone along here with an ATV.
We need links between rideable sections.
Hopefully I can get on.
Surprisingly, again, between the highway and the right-of-way fence, there is a route. Hampered only by a few stumps and high grass which blocks our sight line. With simple mowing and blading, we could have a route taking cyclists and trekkers down to the paved sections of the abandoned old Yale Road. Safer for and distracted drivers.
But it wouldn't take much to smooth it out, and that's what we're trying to find out. Yeah. So I'm going to walk just a bit here because it looks rough right here. Yeah.
After just a kilometer, and depending on which route we take, we drop off the four-lane or the highway right-of-way to the abandoned old Yale Road. Now we have a couple of kilometers of old pavement or graveled path to ride or walk. At what would have been approximately 86 Mile on the old road, the original route swung eastward, likely to avoid a former lake. The roadbed still exists, but we avoid the fences, gates, and private property by staying on the highway right-of-way. From the end of the trail bypass at the Davis Lake Road intersection, we ride on pavement, looping back and forth across Highway 97, following the 1947 route, which is now a frontage road. This section is called Yale Road, a remnant name from when the Cariboo Road began at Yale on the Fraser River. As we trend eastward on Yale Road, the 1914 survey indicates 87 Mile House. Nothing remains today. Roadhouses were named for their location on the historic road, measured out in 100-foot chains, by Sergeant McMurphy of the Royal Engineers, as accurately as possible, for contractors and subcontractors were paid by the mile. In some places, the old road switchbacks across district lots, some accessible, some not, but all a reminder of the teamsters that once drove this road, opening up what would become the province of British Columbia. Teamsters and stagecoaches gave way to automobiles beginning in 1907, and by 1910, the BX Express was operating Winton 6s as well as stagecoaches. In 1947, the realigned and improved Highway 97 was pushed through, and the first touring cyclists were seen. The 3 sections of road we have ridden in 3 days could be done by most cyclists in 1 day. We are slowed by route finding, ground truthing, photography, and note-taking for the Cariboo Waggon Road guidebook. Once the work is done, and not having a shuttle vehicle, we have to turn around and ride back to our truck location. From Chasm Provincial Park to today's goal at 100 Mile House is about 65 kilometers. On October 14, 1862, Sergeant McMurphy recorded in his diary, "Chained from the 85th milepost to the 92nd milepost, and gave a certificate to the contractor for 10 miles from the 82nd to the 92nd milepost." The next day he notes, "I shifted camp to Robertson's Ranch, which is 89.5 miles from Lillooet." This became Robertson's 90-mile house. By 1865, Robertson had abandoned the land, and the Walter brothers built a stopping house at 93 Mile, at the top of the long grade south of 100 Mile House. They too only lasted a few years, and then it was not until the 1930s that a bus stop, cafe, and gas station were built by Emma and Ray Flaherty. This area is now the junction of Highway 24 East, across the Interlakes country to Highway 5 on the Thompson River, another route of the Hudson's Bay Brigades for many years. This section of the route is not a land of lakes and aspens, ranchers' fields, and old cut blocks, but a more modern landscape with lots of small holdings and light industry. That is the beauty of this road. It's a multi-dimensional view of the Cariboo. Beyond 93 Mile, the 1947 loop roads frequently cross Highway 97, and with heavy traffic, it becomes too risky to race across 4 lanes of traffic at non-marked crossings. From this point, it is safer not to follow the old Wagon Road route, but to ride the highway, which unfortunately has a narrow shoulder down the hill to 100 Mile. We abandon our cycling at 98 Mile and turn back for the ride home. However, just a couple of kilometers ahead, 100 Mile House has all the services a cyclist or trekker might need: food, accommodation, historic sites, and a bike shop for repairs or accessories. Eventually, we will find a safe route off Highway 97 to continue north. For now, we have reached the end of this section of the great Cariboo Waggon Road.
Stay tuned for the next installment along the route of the Cariboo Waggon Road.